Our history books might be missing their most incredible chapters. Enigmatic artifacts scattered across the globe suggest civilizations rose and fell long before the pyramids were ever conceived. This is not science fiction, but a tangible mystery grounded in physical evidence. By the end of this exploration, you will encounter 25 unearthed objects that fundamentally challenge the established timeline of human history. We will examine everything from an ancient battery to perfectly shaped stone spheres, each one a whisper from a forgotten past. How much of our shared story remains hidden beneath the dust of ages? For generations, we have been told a very specific story about our origins. The conventional timeline, taught in classrooms and museums, places the dawn of civilization at a little over 5,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia. It was there, according to this narrative, that the Sumerians first invented writing, built the earliest cities, and laid the groundwork for all subsequent human achievement. This framework seems tidy and complete, a linear progression from primitive hunter-gatherers to the complex societies we know today. But what if this timeline is not a definitive record, but merely the oldest story we have managed to piece together from the evidence we have so far uncovered? The entire structure of our historical understanding rests upon the artifacts and ruins that have survived the relentless passage of time. Our primary dating methods, from carbon-14 analysis to stratigraphic layers, are powerful tools, yet they are not infallible. They can be skewed by global catastrophes like floods or volcanic eruptions, which can wipe away entire chapters of human history and reset the geological clock. A layer of mud or ash can conceal a civilization as effectively as a tomb, leaving no trace for future archaeologists to find. This possibility opens the door to a profound question. Could there have been great cultures with their own technologies and knowledge that rose and fell in deep antiquity, leaving behind only the most enigmatic and durable of clues? It is against this backdrop of an incomplete and potentially fragile historical record that our next discoveries take on their truly revolutionary weight. These puzzling discoveries are formally known as anomalous artifacts, or UPARTs, a term meaning out-of-place artifacts. They are not simply ancient tools or pottery shards that are older than we thought. Anomalous artifacts are objects that appear where they absolutely should not, defying our established timelines with their very existence. Imagine unearthing a sophisticated mechanical device from a coal seam formed millions of years before humans evolved, or finding a detailed world map inside a tomb from an era when no one supposedly knew the world was round. These are the kinds of discoveries that stop historians in their tracks. They possess a level of technology, artistry, or cultural knowledge that is completely incongruous with the geological layer or archaeological site in which they are found. The study of these objects exists in a challenging and controversial space. On one side, you have researchers and theorists who see them as undeniable proof of lost advanced civilizations, cultures that achieved great things only to be wiped from memory by some cataclysm. Some even propose these artifacts are evidence of contact with otherworldly intelligences. On the opposing side, mainstream skeptics offer more conventional explanations. They suggest these items are often hoaxes, cleverly planted to deceive. Others are cases of simple misidentification, where a natural rock formation is mistaken for a crafted tool. Another common argument is that our dating techniques are flawed, and the object is simply younger or older than we initially believe. This fierce debate is not just academic bickering. It represents a fundamental tension in how we understand our past. The existence of a single, truly verified anomalous artifact would force us to tear up our history books and start over. This intellectual struggle, this constant re-evaluation of what we think we know, is what gives the hunt for these objects such profound meaning. The search is not just for strange objects, but for the truth, no matter how inconvenient it may be. The tension between established history and anomalous evidence finds its perfect embodiment in a single, encrusted object pulled from the sea. In 1901, sponge divers exploring a Roman shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera stumbled upon a lump of corroded bronze and wood that seemed utterly unremarkable. For decades, it sat in a museum storage room, a curious but misunderstood relic. It was only when archaeologists began to carefully clean and X-ray the object that its true, staggering nature was revealed. This was no simple statue or piece of navigational equipment. It was the Antikythera Mechanism, an intricate clockwork device of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, housed in a wooden case no larger than a shoebox. Think of the most precise mechanical watch you can imagine, and then realize this was crafted over 2,000 years ago. Dating to around the 2nd century before the Common Era, the mechanism was, for all intents and purposes, an analog computer. By turning a hand crank on its side, the user could set a specific date and the device would calculate the positions of the sun, the moon, and known planets. It predicted lunar and solar eclipses with remarkable accuracy and even accounted for the irregular orbit of the moon. This was not just a calendar, it was a dynamic model of the heavens, a portable planetarium powered by human hands. The miniaturization and complexity of its gear trains, including differential gears, would not be replicated again until the mechanical clocks of the 14th century. For over a millennium, this level of sophisticated engineering simply vanished from the historical record. What does its existence truly imply? The conventional narrative of technological progress is a steady, upward slope. But the Antikythera Mechanism is a sudden, inexplicable peak. It suggests that a group of Hellenistic Greek scientists and engineers possessed knowledge of astronomy and mechanics so profound that it feels out of place in its own time. This was not a prototype. The device is too refined, too masterfully constructed to be a first attempt. It implies a lineage, a school of thought and craftsmanship that must have had predecessors. Who taught these ancient artisans to build such a thing? Were there other, even earlier mechanisms that have since turned to dust? The shipwreck itself offers a chilling clue. The vessel was a Roman cargo ship, likely carrying spoils from the Greek world back to Italy. This means the mechanism was already an antique, a prized possession being transported from one conquering culture to another. Its origins, therefore, stretch back even further into the shadows of time. This single artifact forces a monumental reconsideration. It stands as silent, gear-driven proof that our ancient ancestors may have reached technological heights we are only now beginning to comprehend. Just as the intricate gears of the Antikythera Mechanism hint at lost mechanical genius, another artifact from antiquity suggests a different kind of forgotten power. In the ruins of Qujat Rabu, just outside modern Baghdad, archaeologists uncovered a simple clay jar that held a secret far beyond its humble appearance. Dating from the Parthian or Sassanid period, a span covering roughly 250 years before the Common Era to 650 after, this jar contained a copper cylinder and an iron rod suspended inside it. The arrangement seemed deliberate, and when researchers filled the jar with an acidic liquid like vinegar or wine, they discovered something startling. The vessel produced a small but measurable electric current. It was, in essence, a primitive battery, a galvanic cell predating the official discovery of electricity by more than a millennium. The purpose of this Baghdad Battery remains one of history's most compelling debates. Was it used for electroplating, to deposit a thin layer of gold or silver onto other objects? Some point to the existence of ancient gilded artifacts that show plating too fine for traditional methods. Perhaps its function was medicinal, a source of mild electric shock for pain relief, a practice documented in later periods for treating ailments like gout. Others propose it served a ritual purpose, perhaps creating a mysterious tingling sensation during religious ceremonies to simulate a divine touch. The true answer may be lost to time, but the object's mere existence is what resonates so deeply. It was not a theoretical concept scribbled on a scroll, but a working device. Someone in the ancient world possessed a practical, hands-on understanding of electrochemical principles. This unassuming jar stands as a quiet testament to experimental knowledge that official history has largely overlooked. It hints at scientific pursuits in workshops and temples, where curious minds were testing the boundaries of their world. The battery did not power a city or light a street, but its subtle current challenges the very timeline of innovation. It forces us to wonder what other sparks of understanding flickered in the darkness of the past, only to be extinguished and forgotten, waiting centuries to be rediscovered. The serene landscape of California's Coso Mountains offers no hint of the temporal enigma it once concealed. In 1961, a team of rock collectors was hunting for geodes, the rough stone spheres that often hide beautiful crystal interiors. They cracked open one particularly promising nodule, expecting the glitter of quartz or amethyst. Instead, they found themselves staring at a manufactured object, a small device utterly alien to its stony prison. At its heart was a ceramic cylinder, encircled by a hexagonal collar of rust-resistant metal with a central shaft of iron. To any modern eye, the object bore a startling resemblance to a spark plug. The true shock, however, came from the geology itself. The rock that had encased this artifact was subjected to analysis and was found to be approximately 500,000 years old. This single date created an impossible contradiction, a chronological paradox that seems to defy rational explanation. Here was a piece of sophisticated machinery, seemingly sealed inside stone, that formed at a time when, according to all established knowledge, humanity's most advanced tool was a carefully shaped hand axe. The immediate and most common skeptical explanation is that this is simply a modern spark plug from the 1920s, perhaps from a mining vehicle, that became encased in a hard mineral concretion over a few decades. This process, where dissolved minerals precipitate around an object and harden into rock-like layers, is well documented. Proponents of this view point to the specific design of the object, which closely matches a champion spark plug model from that era. They argue that the collectors misidentified a fast-forming concretion as an ancient geode, a simple case of mistaken identity amplified by wishful thinking. Yet for others, the mystery is not so easily dismissed. The conditions required for such rapid concretion are very specific, and the initial geological analysis seemed to firmly place the nodule in a much older context. If that dating is correct, then the implications are staggering. The Coso artifact would not be a mere curiosity, it would be a cataclysm for our understanding of history. Imagine a single spark plug as a solitary relic from our own civilization, buried under layers of sediment for 500,000 years. What story would it tell future archaeologists? They would see precision machining, knowledge of metallurgy, and an understanding of controlled ignition. They would rightly conclude that the society that made it possessed advanced technology. This is the profound dilemma posed by the Coso artifact. If it is authentic, it suggests that a similarly advanced culture existed in deep antiquity, a culture that left behind this one inexplicable piece of evidence. This idea shatters the comforting linear model of human progress, where we slowly evolved from simple to complex. In its place arises a far more unsettling and cyclical view of history, one of rise and fall, where civilizations achieved technological brilliance only to be utterly erased by time, leaving behind nothing but the rarest and most durable of their creations. The object forces a haunting question. Could our own modern world be just one iteration in a series of forgotten cycles, destined to leave behind only a few enigmatic fragments for the next world to puzzle over? Deep within a stone nodule from the Cretaceous period, an era when tyrannosaurs roamed, a tool was waiting. In 1936, a couple walking along a creek near London, Texas, noticed a curious piece of rock with a piece of wood protruding from it. When they cracked it open, they found a hammerhead perfectly embedded within the stone. The rock itself was identified as a Cretaceous formation, dating to well over 100 million years old. This was the London Hammer, an artifact that seems to place human industry squarely in the age of dinosaurs. The hammer's head is forged from an iron that has puzzled metallurgists. It is of an unusually pure composition and shows a startling lack of corrosion, a feat that some argue surpasses the quality of iron produced by 19th-century blacksmiths. The wooden handle is partially coalified, turned to a carbonized state as if by immense pressure and time. The immediate and logical explanation offered by skeptics is that the hammer is a miner's tool from the 1800s that was dropped or abandoned, and that dissolved minerals from the local limestone seeped around it, forming a hard, rock-like concretion in a relatively short period. This process, similar to the one proposed for the Coso Artifact, is geologically plausible. Yet, the completeness of the encapsulation and the specific mineralogy of the stone create a persistent conundrum. If the concretion formed quickly, how did the wooden handle become so thoroughly transformed? If the hammer is modern, why is its iron purer and more resilient than expected for its time? The artifact presents a direct and uncomfortable challenge. It forces us to confront the reliability of our own geological dating methods. Either our understanding of how quickly mineral concretions can form is fundamentally flawed, or the hammer is exactly what it appears to be, an impossibly ancient human tool. This single object resting in that Cretaceous rock fuels profound and unsettling speculation. Could there have been a human civilization, or perhaps another form of intelligent life, that walked the Earth over 100 million years ago? The London Hammer does not offer answers, but it hammers relentlessly at the door of our established reality, demanding we consider the unthinkable. From the silent depths of stone, we soar to the skies of ancient Egypt. In 1898, within a tomb at Saqqara, archaeologists unearthed a small wooden artifact that has since become a source of intense fascination. Known simply as the Saqqara Bird, it was carved around 200 years before the Common Era. At first glance, it appears to be a stylized bird, perhaps a falcon, a common motif in Egyptian art. But a closer look reveals a startling anomaly. Unlike any bird in nature, this object features a distinct vertical tail fin, standing upright like the rudder of an aircraft. Its wings are sleek and straight, with no representation of legs or feet, a design choice that seems to defy its avian inspiration. This is not merely a child's toy or a religious totem. It is a shape that seems engineered, not just carved. The implications of this unique design were not fully explored for decades. Then, in the modern era, aeronautical engineers decided to put the Saqqara Bird to the test. They constructed accurate scale models and subjected them to wind tunnel analysis. The results were startling. The models demonstrated genuine aerodynamic properties. With a little thrust, the artifact could generate lift and achieve stable, gliding flight. Its vertical tail fin acted precisely as a rudder does on an airplane, providing stability and preventing it from spinning out of control. This small wooden object, buried for over 2,000 years, was not just a representation of a bird. It was functionally a model glider. This discovery forces a radical reinterpretation of its purpose. Was it a ceremonial throw stick, as some Egyptologists suggest, or was it something far more profound, a physical record of observed principles of flight? The existence of the Saqqara bird does not mean the pharaohs had an air force. It suggests something perhaps more subtle and equally revolutionary. It implies that a brilliant, observant mind in antiquity was studying the physics of the air. Someone noticed how a certain wing shape could catch the wind, how a fin could guide a path through the sky. This knowledge could have come from watching birds for countless hours, but the design is so specific, so optimized for a non-flapping glide, that it hints at a more direct form of experimentation. Could this artifact be a scaled-down version of a larger, working glider, a craft that was lost to time, built from papyrus and wood? We may never know. But the Saqqara bird stands as a silent, elegant testament to a spark of understanding that flickered long before the Wright brothers ever left the ground. It is a whisper that the ancient world's knowledge of natural forces may have been far more advanced and far more practical than we have ever dared to believe. What other principles of physics were understood, only to be forgotten and rediscovered centuries later? The principles of flight were not the only advanced knowledge potentially lost to time. A stunningly accurate map, drawn centuries before its contents should have been known, presents a geographical puzzle of global proportions. In 1513, Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis compiled a world map on gazelle skin, a beautiful and intricate artifact now known as the Piri Reis Map. The map is remarkable for its detailed rendering of the western coast of Africa and the eastern coast of South America, but its true mystery lies far to the south. It depicts a landmass at the bottom of the world, a continent we now know as Antarctica. This alone is baffling, as Antarctica was not officially discovered by European explorers until 1818, over 300 years later. Yet the mystery deepens exponentially. The map does not just show Antarctica, it shows its coastline with shocking precision, and it portrays that coastline without its massive ice cap. The continent is drawn as a land of rivers and mountains, free of the mile-thick ice that has entombed it for millennia. Modern seismic surveys have only recently revealed the true topography beneath the Antarctic ice, and the shape on the Piri Reis map bears a startling resemblance to this subglacial reality. This creates an impossible scenario. The last time Antarctica was ice-free was potentially thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago, in a period long before any known civilization capable of such a mapping endeavor. How could a 16th century admiral have access to this knowledge? The map itself provides a tantalizing clue. In his own notes, Piri Reis stated that he used source maps dating back to the time of Alexander the Great, and even older charts from 4,000 years before his own time. He was not claiming to have explored these lands himself, but was acting as a compiler, copying and merging geographical data from a lost library of ancient charts. This suggests the existence of a forgotten seafaring culture, a people who possessed the ships, the navigational skills, and the scientific drive to map the entire planet with an accuracy that would not be matched again until the 20th century. Who were these master mariners? Were they the Minoans, the Phoenicians, or a civilization whose name is lost entirely to history? The Piri Reis map is more than just a drawing. It is a ghost image of a world we do not recognize, a relic of an age of exploration that our history books have completely overlooked. It forces us to ask what other global knowledge was once commonplace, only to be lost, forgotten, and waiting to be rediscovered on a piece of dried gazelle skin. While lost maps hint at forgotten global explorers, a different kind of enigma lies half buried in the Costa Rican earth. Deep within the Diquis Delta, hundreds of massive stone spheres rest in mysterious silence. Ranging in size from a child's plaything to colossal orbs weighing over 15 tons, these objects are not natural formations. They were meticulously crafted by the pre-Columbian Diquis culture, and their near-perfect geometry defies simple explanation. How did a society without metal tools, without the wheel, achieve such impossible precision? The creation of a single sphere would have been a monumental task. It began with extracting a massive boulder from a quarry, likely using heat to fracture the stone. Then, through a process of relentless pecking and grinding with other, harder stones, the form was slowly shaped. The final step, achieving that breathtaking smoothness and near-perfect roundness, is the deepest mystery. Some researchers suggest the artisans may have developed a system of measurements and templates, constantly checking their progress with cords or wooden frames to ensure symmetry from every angle. The sheer labor and coordination required speaks of a highly organized society, one capable of mobilizing a workforce for projects that offered no immediate practical reward. This was not about building shelter or forging weapons. This was about creating something with profound, perhaps spiritual, purpose. Many of the spheres were found arranged in elaborate patterns, lines and triangles and parabolic curves stretching across the landscape. This has led to the compelling theory that they formed a vast, open-air astronomical observatory. Certain alignments may have pointed to the rising and setting of the sun during solstices or equinoxes, while others could have tracked the cycles of the moon or the movements of prominent stars. For an agricultural society, such a calendar etched into the earth would have been invaluable, dictating the timing for planting and harvest. But the arrangement might also reflect a cosmic map, a physical representation of their worldview, connecting their earthly home to the heavens above. The true meaning of the spheres, however, was washed away by the tides of history. When Spanish colonizers arrived, the Diquis culture had already declined, and their descendants could offer no clear explanation for the stone balls. The conquistadors, convinced the spheres contained hidden gold, smashed many of them open, finding only solid rock. Today, the remaining spheres stand as silent sentinels. They are not tools or weapons, not temples or tombs. They are pure expression, a testament to a civilization's drive to impose perfect order on a chaotic world, to reach for the stars by carving their vision into the very stone beneath their feet. What cosmic truths were they trying to tell us, and why did they choose this breathtaking yet utterly silent language to do so? Some artifacts speak in a language we can almost understand, their purpose hinted at through shape and context. But the Voynich Manuscript communicates in a tongue that has remained stubbornly silent for centuries. This handwritten book, carbon dated to the early 1400s, is a fortress of a mystery, its walls built from a script that has defied every assault by the world's greatest codebreakers. Its pages are a parade of the impossible. Lush illustrations depict plants that have no counterpart in the natural world, their leaves and flowers arranged in ways no botanist would recognize. Delicate fold-out pages reveal astronomical charts showing unknown constellations and celestial systems that bear no relation to the night sky as we know it. Other sections are filled with intricate drawings of tiny, nude women bathing in or connected by a network of pipes and vessels, a biological diagram that seems to merge the human body with a strange, organic plumbing system. The text itself is beautifully rendered, flowing from left to right in a script of over 20 unique characters, yet it forms no words in any known language. The patterns within the writing suggest a real, structured language with syntax and grammar, but its meaning is locked away. This is not a simple cipher. The best cryptanalysts from both world wars, the very men and women who cracked the most complex military codes, have turned their skills to the Voynich and walked away utterly baffled. Modern supercomputers running sophisticated algorithms have found no statistical key to unlock its secrets. So what are we left with? The manuscript could be an incredibly elaborate and pointless hoax, a work of sheer nonsense crafted to deceive a wealthy patron. But the internal consistency of its artificial language would represent a staggering, almost inhuman feat of linguistic invention. Perhaps it is a cipher for alchemical or herbal knowledge, its bizarre imagery acting as a symbolic code to protect precious secrets from the uninitiated. The most tantalizing possibility is that it is a genuine artifact from a lost culture, a snapshot of a unique worldview that developed in complete isolation before being swallowed by history. The Voynich Manuscript is more than a puzzle. It is a profound and humbling reminder of the limits of our understanding. Here is a book. We can hold it in our hands. We can analyze the age of its vellum and the chemistry of its inks. We can see every curve of every strange letter, and yet its voice is completely lost to us. It stands as a silent monument to the vast, dark continents of history that remain uncharted on any map. Entire cultures, and their knowledge vanished without a single whisper in our records. The silent, unreadable script of the Voynich Manuscript presents a mystery of lost human knowledge, but another tale points to a source far beyond our world. Deep within the Bayan Karaula Mountains on the border of China and Tibet, a story emerged in 1938 that would become one of archaeology's most enduring and controversial legends. A Chinese archaeologist named Kai Pu-te is said to have discovered a series of bizarre burials within a complex of caves. The skeletons were small and fragile, with unusually large skulls, but the true enigma lay beside them. Scattered across the cave floor were hundreds of stone discs, each roughly 9 inches in diameter with a perfect hole in the center. A spiral groove ran from the center to the outer edge, and upon closer inspection, this groove was not a decorative pattern. It was filled with a continuous line of tiny, almost microscopic hieroglyphics, a script unlike any ever seen. The discs, reportedly analyzed as being approximately 12,000 years old, were named the Dropa Stones. The narrative takes its most incredible turn with the alleged translation of this miniature text. According to the story, the hieroglyphics told a sorrowful saga of a group of beings called the Dropa. Their spacecraft had crashed in the inaccessible mountains, stranding them far from home. Unable to repair their vessel and viewed with hostility by the local tribes who inhabited the valleys below, the survivors took refuge in the caves where they eventually perished, leaving only their story etched in stone. If this translation were verified, the Dropa Stones would represent the most profound and paradigm-shattering evidence of extraterrestrial contact in human prehistory. Mainstream archaeology dismisses the entire account as a complete fabrication, a layered hoax that began with a fictional magazine article and grew through retellings. Skeptics argue the discs are most likely common by discs, a type of ceremonial jade artifact from Neolithic China, with their ordinary concentric circles misinterpreted as a carved script. No reputable institution has ever confirmed possessing a Dropa stone, and the original discoverer, Kai Pu-te, remains a shadowy figure. Yet the legend possesses a stubborn vitality. It taps into a fundamental human question about our origins and our solitude in the universe. The story of the Dropa Stones challenges more than just our historical timeline. It confronts our very place in the cosmos. Are we the only intelligent species to have ever looked upon this world, or are we merely the latest chapter in a much older and far stranger galactic story? The stones, whether real or imagined, force us to gaze at the stars and wonder who might have been gazing back, in a time when humanity was just beginning to learn how to write its own name. Far from the silent galactic legends of the Dropa Stones, a collection of Peruvian artifacts presents a visual challenge so direct it seems ripped from a science fiction novel. In the 1960s, a farmer named Basilio Ushuaia began selling thousands of carved andesite stones to a local physician, Dr. Javier Cabrera. These Ica Stones, as they became known, are covered in intricate engravings that depict scenes which should not exist. The images are startlingly clear, humans interacting with creatures we would instantly recognize as dinosaurs, from towering sauropods to spiked stegosaurs. But the carvings do not stop there. Other stones show figures performing what appear to be complex medical surgeries, including open heart procedures and cesarean sections. Some even depict astronomers using telescopes to observe celestial bodies. This is not a vague or symbolic art style. It is a literal and jarring illustration of an impossible past. The immediate and most widely accepted explanation is that these are clever modern fakes. Basilio Ushuaia himself later admitted to creating many of the stones, using a dental drill, and then aging the carvings with chicken dung to give them a patina of antiquity. He claimed he produced what the buyers wanted to see, feeding a market hungry for the mysterious. This confession seems to solve the case, neatly dismissing the stones as an elaborate hoax. Yet, the story has a complicating layer. The existence of Ica stones was documented by Spanish conquistadors centuries before Ushuaia was born. Early colonial accounts describe local indigenous people possessing carved stones with strange images, which they revered as sacred objects. This historical record suggests that while many stones are modern fabrications, the tradition itself might be ancient. Could there be a core collection of genuine artifacts, their origins lost in pre-Columbian time, that inspired a 20th century cottage industry of forgeries? If even a small number of these stones are authentic, their implications are earth-shattering. They would mean that an ancient civilization possessed precise knowledge of creatures that went extinct 65 million years ago. How could they have known the correct anatomical shapes of dinosaurs, details that modern paleontology only pieced together from fossilized skeletons in the last 2 centuries? The medical scenes are equally baffling, suggesting an understanding of anatomy and surgical techniques that would not be developed again for millennia. The Ica stones force a confrontation not just with history but with biology and geology. They present a world where the deep past and human present collide, a timeline where giants once walked alongside man. Whether a brilliant hoax or a fragmented relic of a lost world, these stones challenge us to explain how such specific and anachronistic knowledge could have been carved in stone, waiting centuries for someone to notice the terrifying story they tell. The impossible art of the Ica stones finds its monumental echo just a few hundred miles to the south, etched not on portable rock but on the very skin of the planet. Stretching across the arid plains of Peru, the Nazca Lines transform the desert floor into a colossal canvas. These are not small carvings, but geoglyphs of breathtaking scale, depicting sprawling spiders, giant hummingbirds, a massive monkey with a coiled tail, and intricate geometric shapes that run for miles in perfectly straight lines. Created by the Nazca culture over a 1,000-year period beginning around 500 years before the Common Era, these figures were made by a simple yet profoundly effective method. The dark, sun-baked surface stones were removed, revealing the lighter, contrasting soil beneath. The incredibly dry, windless climate of the region has acted as a perfect preservative, keeping these immense drawings intact for 2 millennia. The true wonder of the Nazca Lines, however, lies in a perspective their creators could never have enjoyed from the ground. To truly comprehend the spider's delicate legs or the hummingbird's intricate beak, you must ascend. You must rise hundreds of feet into the air. Only from that vantage point does the chaotic sprawl of lines resolve into a coherent, magnificent picture. This fundamental fact ignites the central mystery. Why would a people invest such immense effort into creating art they themselves could never fully see? The conventional explanations are compelling. Many researchers believe the lines formed a vast astronomical calendar, with certain shapes and alignments pointing to key solar and lunar events critical for an agricultural society. Others see them as sacred pathways, walked during rituals to petition the gods for water in this brutally dry landscape. The precision of these massive figures, however, speaks to a staggering knowledge of geometry and surveying. How did the Nazca achieve such perfect proportions and straight lines over such vast distances without the ability to check their work from above? They likely used a system of stakes and cords, scaling up a small master design with remarkable skill, a testament to their organizational genius. Yet, the aerial perspective is so undeniable that it fuels more speculative ideas. Could the Nazca have developed a primitive form of hot air balloon technology, using woven fabrics and fire to achieve brief, tethered flights to direct the work from overhead? There is no archaeological evidence for this, but the question lingers. Alternatively, were these massive, beautiful drawings intended as messages or offerings not for themselves, but for beings they believed watched from the heavens? The lines remain a silent, sprawling puzzle. They are a testament to a civilization that thought in grand scales, that sought to imprint its vision onto the earth itself, creating a message so vast its meaning can only be grasped from the sky, a message we are still struggling to translate. The silent, sprawling art of the Nazca Desert gives way to a different kind of monumental expression, one that rises from the earth in solid, human form. On one of the most remote islands on the planet, colossal stone faces gaze with an eternal solemnity across the landscape. These are the Moai of Easter Island, and their creation is a mystery carved in volcanic rock. The Rapa Nui people, isolated in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, achieved an engineering feat that continues to baffle experts. From a single quarry in the volcanic crater of Rono Roroku, they carved nearly 900 of these statues, some standing over 30 feet tall and weighing more than 80 tons. The quarry itself is a surreal landscape, littered with moai in every stage of completion, as if the workers simply walked away one day. The greatest puzzle is not the carving, but the journey. How did a society without the wheel, without metal tools, and without large animals for draft power transport these multi-ton giants for miles across rugged, hilly terrain? The answer may be more human and more precarious than we ever imagined. One compelling theory suggests the Rapa Nui used a technique called walking. By carefully rocking the statue from side to side with ropes, teams of workers could, in essence, make the moai shuffle forward in a slow, controlled wobble. This method, demonstrated in modern experiments, would have required coordinated effort and a deep understanding of balance, but it could explain the ancient roads lined with broken and abandoned statues that litter the island. They were not failures, but lessons learned the hard way. The society that orchestrated this was clearly complex and deeply spiritual. The moai were not mere decorations. They are believed to represent deified ancestors, their backs to the sea, watching over the villages and conferring spiritual power, or mana, upon the living. The effort to create and erect just one of these figures would have required a highly organized social structure, with dedicated carvers, rope makers, navigators, and food producers all working in concert. This very success, however, may have sown the seeds of collapse. The prevailing narrative suggests that the obsession with statue construction led to catastrophic environmental degradation. The island's lush palm forests were cleared for logs to use as rollers and levers and to make room for agriculture. Without trees to anchor the soil, erosion set in. Without large trees to build canoes, deep-sea fishing became impossible. The society that had reached such dizzying heights of cultural expression was brought to its knees by starvation and conflict, a stark warning about the cost of unchecked ambition. Yet, even this story is being rewritten. New evidence suggests the Rapa Nui were brilliant adapters, using rock gardens to enrich the poor soil and sustaining a population far larger than previously thought. Their end may have come not from self-destruction, but from the arrival of European diseases and slave raiders. The true story of the Moai is not just one of engineering, but of resilience. They stand today not merely as symbols of a fallen people, but as powerful reminders of human ingenuity in the face of extreme isolation, and the delicate balance between a society's greatest ambitions and the resources of the world it inhabits. What other stories of rise and fall are waiting to be understood, not just on remote islands, but buried beneath our own feet? The sheer scale of the Moai hints at a powerful, organized society, but its isolation on a remote island makes it feel like a unique phenomenon. What if that drive to build, to gather, and to create monuments was not the end result of civilization, but its very spark? This question finds its most profound answer not on an island, but on a windswept hilltop in Turkey. The Göbekli Tepe complex is a place that does not just challenge our timeline, it shatters it. Dating back to around 9,600 years before the Common Era, this site is staggeringly ancient. It is 6,000 years older than Stonehenge, a full 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Before the first seeds of wheat were ever deliberately sown in Mesopotamia, people were gathering here to erect a sanctuary of breathtaking ambition. The architecture is both massive and sophisticated. Enormous T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing over 10 tons, were quarried, transported, and set into precise circles. These are not rough-hewn stones. They are masterfully carved with a menagerie of animals, foxes, scorpions, lions, and vultures, all rendered with an artistic skill that feels out of place in the so-called Stone Age. The symbols are abstract and complex, a silent language we can no longer decipher. For decades, the foundational story of human progress has been clear and logical. It was called the Neolithic Revolution. First, humans discovered agriculture. Farming produced a food surplus which allowed people to settle in permanent villages. This settlement led to specialization, hierarchy, and complex social structures, which finally provided the time, resources, and organization to build grand temples and monuments. Göbekli Tepe turns this entire sequence on its head. Here, we have clear evidence of large-scale, coordinated labor. The quarrying, transportation, and erection of these multi-ton pillars required a large, skilled workforce that needed to be fed and housed. This implies planners, overseers, and artisans, a level of social organization we never attributed to hunter-gatherers. And yet, archaeological evidence confirms the builders of Göbekli Tepe were precisely that, hunter-gatherers. They had not yet domesticated plants or animals. They lived by hunting wild game and gathering wild grains. This single site demolishes the idea that agriculture was the necessary prerequisite for civilization. Instead, it suggests a different catalyst entirely. What powerful force could compel hundreds of nomadic people to come together, to dedicate generations of backbreaking labor to a single sacred site? The answer seems to be a shared belief system, a common religion, or a powerful mythology. Göbekli Tepe was not a village or a fortress. It was a temple, a place of pilgrimage and communal gathering. This suggests that the human impulse to worship, to create art, and to gather for a purpose greater than mere survival may have been the true engine that first drove us to build civilization. The desire to connect with the divine or with each other in a shared ritual may have been what taught us how to organize, to cooperate on a massive scale, and to alter the landscape itself. After the sanctuary served its purpose, it was not abandoned to ruin. In an act that is as mysterious as its construction, the entire complex was deliberately and carefully buried around 8000 BCE. Someone filled the circles with rubble, preserving them for millennia until their rediscovery. Why would a culture so painstakingly entomb its most sacred heart? Was it an act of reverence or one of fear? Göbekli Tepe pulls the origins of civilization back into a much deeper, mistier past, a time when the first stones of human ambition were being laid for reasons we are only beginning to grasp. Beneath the clear, blue waters off the coast of Japan, a silent city sleeps. The Yonaguni Monument emerges from the seafloor like a sunken fortress, a massive sandstone structure covered in what appear to be perfectly level terraces, sharp 90-degree angles, and unmistakable steps. There is a triangular entrance, a wide, flat plaza, and even a formation that strikingly resembles a carved human face. To the eye, it looks undeniably like the ruins of a vast ceremonial complex. The sheer scale is staggering, with the main structure rising over 80 feet from the seabed. The central question is as simple as it is profound. Are we looking at the handiwork of nature or the ghost of a lost civilization? Geologists who argue for natural formation point to the region's powerful seismic activity. They explain that the sandstone in this area is naturally fractured along parallel planes, and the relentless forces of ocean currents could have eroded these fractures, carving out the monument's seemingly artificial features over millions of years. They see a spectacular but entirely natural geological oddity. Yet other researchers, including the late Professor Masaki Kimura, who studied the site for decades, counter with a list of anomalies that nature struggles to explain. They highlight the two perfectly round, 2-meter-deep holes side by side on the rock face, a feature highly unlikely to be formed by random erosion. They point to the straight, continuous row of smaller holes that resemble post holes for structural support. Most compellingly, they note that the structure is not isolated. What appears to be a network of roads and smaller satellite structures surrounds the main monument, suggesting a planned layout rather than a random scattering of rocks. The true weight of the mystery, however, comes from its depth. The monument lies in waters that were dry land during the last ice age, when global sea levels were hundreds of feet lower. For this to be a man-made site, it would have been constructed over 10,000 years ago, a time that predates the oldest known pyramids by an almost unimaginable margin. This timeline places its potential builders in an era our history books describe as populated solely by nomadic hunter-gatherers, people who followed herds and gathered berries, not societies that quarried and shaped multi-ton stone blocks into vast architectural wonders. If the Yonaguni Monument is artificial, it forces a complete re-evaluation of human capability in the deep past. It suggests a sophisticated culture flourished on the now-drowned continental shelves of the Pacific, a culture with the knowledge, organization, and spiritual drive to alter the very landscape. This was not a small village, but a project of immense ambition, now lost to the rising seas. The monument stands as a silent, underwater sentinel, guarding the secrets of a world that vanished beneath the waves, challenging us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the cradle of civilization. Hieroglyphs in an ancient Egyptian temple seem to show a blueprint for the future. High on a ceiling lintel within the temple of Seti I at Abydos, a cluster of symbols has sparked one of the most visually compelling debates in all of alternative history. The carvings appear to depict with startling clarity a helicopter, a submarine, a jet plane, and even what looks like some kind of flying saucer. The resemblance is so uncanny that it feels intentional, as if the artisans were carving images of technology from our own era thousands of years before it was invented. This is the enigma of the Abydos helicopter, a mystery born not from a single carving, but from the slow, patient work of time itself. The mainstream explanation provided by Egyptologists is not a dismissal, but a fascinating lesson in archaeology. They identify this as a powerful example of a palimpsest, a term for a surface that has been written upon, erased, and then written on again. In this case, the original hieroglyphs, commissioned by Pharaoh Seti I, were deeply carved and filled with plaster. Later, his successor, Ramses II, had his own name and titles carved over the same space. Over millennia, the plaster has fallen out, and the elements have weathered the stone. The result is a visual overlap where the elegant curves and lines of the older symbols blend perfectly with the newer ones, creating entirely new and entirely accidental composite shapes. The helicopter is not a helicopter at all, but a fusion of the hieroglyphs for words or names from two different pharaohs, superimposed by time. This scientific explanation is robust, yet it struggles to completely extinguish the spark of wonder. The human brain is hardwired for pattern recognition, a trait known as pareidolia, which causes us to see faces in clouds or animals in the constellations. Here, that same instinct compels us to see familiar machines in the jumble of ancient script. The Abydos carvings tap into a deep-seated desire to find a connection, a thread of continuity that links our technological age with the world of the pharaohs. It is a testament to our own culture, projecting our greatest inventions onto a canvas of the past, searching for validation that we are not the first, that our knowledge is part of a much older cycle. Whether a geological coincidence or something more, the Abydos helicopter endures because it offers a tantalizing glimpse of an impossible narrative, a story where the past and the future are not separate, but intricately, mysteriously intertwined. A single silver coin, smaller than a thumbnail, was unearthed amidst the shells and stone tools of a Native American settlement in Maine. This was the Maine Penny, and its journey is as enigmatic as its final resting place. Minted in Norway between 1065 and 1080, this Norse artifact traveled across the Atlantic, only to be found hundreds of miles south of the only known Viking settlement in Newfoundland. It is the sole pre-Columbian Norse object ever discovered within the United States, a solitary data point that speaks volumes. How did this piece of Scandinavian currency end up in a Wabanaki shell midden? The most plausible explanation is one of trade and travel. We know the Norse were at Elant's Ox Meadows for a brief period. It is not difficult to imagine a Norse expedition sailing south along the coast, perhaps exploring for new resources or trading partners. A coin like this, a piece of hack silver, would have been a valuable commodity, not for its monetary value in the New World, but for its material. It could have been traded for furs, food, or other goods, passing from Viking hands to Native American ones, treasured for its exotic shine, and worked into a piece of jewelry or kept as a curiosity. This tiny coin does not rewrite the timeline of civilization, but it dramatically redraws the map of human interaction. It is physical proof of a fleeting encounter, a moment of contact between two worlds that official history had long kept separate. The Maine Penny whispers of voyages we have no records for, of meetings on beaches that were never written down. It stands as a powerful reminder that our historical narratives are often just the broadest strokes, and that the true, rich tapestry of the human past is woven with countless lost threads waiting in the soil to be found. A single stone pulled from the roots of a Minnesota poplar tree carries a story that could tear a page from our history books. The Kensington Runestone is a 200-pound slab of greywacke, its surface etched with a runic inscription that tells a harrowing tale. According to the carved text, a group of 8 Goths and 22 Norsemen arrived on an exploration journey from Vinland far to the west. The message is dated to the year 1362, and it describes a scene of terror and grief. 10 men were red with blood and dead. It reads, a desperate plea to any who might find it after the slaughter. If this artifact is genuine, it is not merely a record of presence, but a dramatic, dated chronicle of a Norse expedition deep into the heart of North America, 130 years before Columbus ever set sail. The implications are staggering, suggesting Scandinavian explorers navigated the Great Lakes and penetrated the continent's interior, interacting with its peoples in ways we never documented. The stone's discovery in 1898 by a Swedish immigrant farmer named Olof Öhman immediately sparked a firestorm of controversy that burns to this day. The academic consensus, backed by linguistic analysis, leans heavily toward it being an elaborate hoax. Scholars point to the runic alphabet used, a mix of styles that seems anachronistic for the 14th century. They argue the language contains modern Scandinavian dialect influences and grammatical errors a genuine Norseman would not have made. The skeptics paint a picture of a clever, homesick farmer, well-read in Norse history, crafting a piece of his heritage to embed in the New World soil, a prank or a proud declaration that got wildly out of hand. Yet the stone has its fierce defenders. They counter that the runes could represent a unique, isolated dialect developed by explorers long separated from their homeland. They highlight geological studies that suggest the weathering on the inscription is centuries deep, not something that could have accumulated in a few decades. The very location of its finding, far from any known Viking settlement and amidst a landscape these men would have had to traverse, gives some researchers pause. The Kensington Runestone embodies the core struggle of anomalous archaeology. It is a tug of war between hard evidence and deeply held historical paradigms. Our desire for such a narrative to be true is powerful, the allure of a hidden chapter where intrepid explorers mapped rivers we thought were unknown to them. But that very desire makes the stone a perfect candidate for forgery, a story someone wanted to be true so badly they may have carved it into stone themselves. This is the razor's edge these artifacts walk. They offer us a glimpse of a more dramatic past, but they also hold up a mirror to our own hopes, our own yearning to find a lost world waiting just beneath the surface of the familiar one. Buried alongside the bones of an extinct mastodon, a wedge of metal offers a different kind of riddle. Discovered in 1974 near the Romanian town of Aiud, this object was found deep in a geological layer estimated to be 20,000 years old. The wedge itself was composed of an alloy, a sophisticated blend of metals overwhelmingly made of aluminum. This is the core of the impossible contradiction. Aluminum is one of the most common elements in the Earth's crust, but it is never found in a pure metallic state in nature. It is always locked away inside other minerals, and the process to free it requires immense electrical energy or complex chemical reactions. Humanity did not master this process until the 1820s, a mere 200 years ago. So how could a manufactured aluminum object end up encased in sediments from the last ice age, a time when human society consisted of small bands of hunter-gatherers wielding stone-tipped spears. The most common and logical explanation points to modern machinery. Skeptics propose the wedge is simply a broken tooth from the bucket of a 20th century excavator or dredger. These heavy machine parts are often made from tough, corrosion-resistant aluminum alloys, and they can easily be lost during construction or mining work. If such a fragment fell into a pit, it could have become mixed with older bones and sediments, creating the illusion of a shared ancient origin. It is a case of stratigraphic contamination, where a modern object tumbles into an ancient context, fooling the initial discoverers. Yet the circumstances of its discovery give proponents pause. The wedge was reportedly found under 35 feet of hard-packed sand and gravel, a depth that suggests it was not a recent intrusion. The mastodon bones it was buried with were genuine, placing the entire context firmly in the Pleistocene epoch. If this was a modern excavator part, how did it sink so deep and become so perfectly associated with the fossils? The Aiud Wedge presents the classic Upart's dilemma in its purest form. We are forced to choose between two unsettling possibilities. Either our geological dating of that riverbank site is completely wrong, and the layer is far younger than we believe, or our understanding of ancient human technology is fundamentally incomplete. Could a lost culture have discovered a method, perhaps even a biological or chemical one, to isolate aluminum long before the industrial age? The wedge does not answer this question, but its very existence keeps it open, a metallic whisper from a past that may have been far more inventive than we ever dared to dream. Carved from a dark, enigmatic stone, the Lake Winnipesaukee artifact is a polished egg of mystery. Discovered in 1872 by workers digging a fence post near the shores of the New Hampshire lake, this object feels both ancient and utterly alien to its surroundings. It is a beautiful, frustrating puzzle, covered in a tapestry of symbols that refuse to tell their story. On one side, a solemn face stares out, while the other side displays a series of images including what looks like a teepee, a stylized ear of corn, and a series of circles and spirals. The carvings are crisp and deliberate, yet they belong to no known alphabet or pictorial language from the region. The most baffling feature, however, is not on its surface but runs straight through its core. The stone is drilled with a near-perfect cylindrical hole from top to bottom. Even more perplexing, the bore is tapered, as if drilled with different-sized bits from each end, meeting with remarkable precision in the middle. This is not the work of a casual artisan. It suggests a level of tool-making sophistication that historians have not attributed to any indigenous culture of the area. The stone stands in complete isolation. No other object like it has ever been found in North America. It does not fit into the known artistic traditions of the Abenaki people or any of their neighbors. The symbols themselves are a chaotic blend of the familiar and the utterly foreign. The teepee and corn suggest an agrarian, settled life, but the face is unlike any traditional depiction, and the other marks remain completely unreadable. Was it a ceremonial object, a treaty token, a record of a forgotten journey, or something else entirely? Its solitary nature is what gives the Winnipesaukee stone its profound weight. It is a reminder that not every artifact fits into a grand narrative of lost civilizations or advanced ancient technology. Some are simply lone wanderers, orphaned from their time and culture. They are the whispers of individual lives, of single events, or of small, isolated groups whose entire story has been reduced to a single, beautiful, and inexplicable object. What personal significance did this stone hold for its maker? Was it a message that was never delivered, a sacred object lost on a long journey, or a unique creation that died with its owner? We will likely never know. It symbolizes the countless small mysteries that lie buried, each one a silent question mark in the soil, reminding us that history is not just about the grand patterns we can trace, but also about the innumerable lost threads that we cannot. Within the cool, shadowed halls of the Hatha Temple at Dendera, a stone relief carved into a wall presents an image that seems to defy its own era. It shows a strange, oversized object, elongated and bulbous, within which a snake stretches its full length. This serpent is held fast at one end by a standing figure, while a cable-like tether seems to connect the entire apparatus to a box resting on a pillar. To a modern eye, the resemblance is immediate and electrifying. It looks exactly like a giant light bulb with the snake serving as the glowing filament. This is the carving known as the Dendera Light, and it has become a flashpoint in the debate over ancient technology. The interpretation is seductively simple, suggesting the priests of Egypt did not work by flickering torchlight, but by the steady, brilliant glow of electric lamps. How else, proponents argue, could they have illuminated the deep, windowless interiors of their tombs and temples to execute such perfect artwork? The theory posits that the box is a power source, perhaps a primitive battery like the one found in Baghdad, and the cable is an insulated wire. It is a vision of an electrified ancient world, a secret known only to the priestly class. Yet, Egyptologists offer a very different and deeply symbolic reading of the very same image. They identify the scene as a representation of a foundational creation myth. The bulb is not a glass vessel, but the womb of the sky goddess Nut, or the blossoming of a lotus flower from the primordial waters. The snake is not a filament, but the god Harsomptus, a manifestation of life itself, being born into the world. The supporting figures are deities, not engineers, and the cable is a divine umbilical cord, a conduit of cosmic power, not electrical current. This stark divergence in understanding reveals a fundamental chasm between how we see the world and how the ancients might have. We are children of the machine age, so we instinctively interpret shapes through the lens of our own technology. The ancient Egyptians, however, lived in a universe alive with symbolism, where every image was a layer of meaning connecting the earthly to the divine. The Dendera Light is a powerful reminder that an artifact can be a clear window into the past, but we are the ones who choose the lens through which we look. It challenges us to see beyond our own assumptions, to consider that the brilliance of the ancients may not have been measured in lumens, but in the profound depth of their mythological thought. The symbolism of ancient Egypt gives way to the golden mysteries of South America, where the Quimbaya civilization left behind artifacts that defy simple categorization. Crafted between 1000 and 1500 years after the Common Era, a collection of small gold figurines from Colombia presents a visual puzzle that seems to leap across centuries. At first glance, they are beautiful works of art, but a shift in perspective reveals something astonishing. Their shapes are not those of common animals or deities. Instead, they boast sleek, streamlined bodies, delta wings that sweep back sharply, and distinct vertical tail fins, features that bear an uncanny resemblance to modern jet aircraft. The immediate and conventional interpretation from archaeology is that these are stylized insects or birds, perhaps dragonflies or condors, rendered according to the artistic conventions of the time. Yet the precision of the aerodynamic forms is difficult to dismiss. The wings are not flapping or outstretched for soaring, they are fixed and angled for speed. The fuselage is tubular and tapered, and the stabilizers are positioned exactly where an aerospace engineer would place them for stability in flight. This is not merely a suggestive shape, it is a collection of specific design elements that together form a coherent, functional profile. the intrigue deepened when modern researchers placed accurate replicas of these so-called Quimbaya airplanes into wind tunnels. The results were not just visually compelling, they were physically demonstrable. Certain models exhibited stable flight characteristics, generating lift and maintaining their trajectory with an efficiency that seems far beyond what would be required for a simple insect effigy. They flew. This empirical test pushes the mystery beyond mere speculation. If these are symbolic representations of birds or insects, why do they possess aerodynamic properties that their natural counterparts do not? A dragonfly achieves flight through rapid wing beats, not fixed wings. A condor soars on broad, flat wings, not on swept-back delta wings designed for supersonic travel. The figurines seem to represent a principle of flight that is entirely mechanical. This opens a door to a profound and unsettling possibility. Could the Quimbaya artisans have been depicting actual flying machines? The notion suggests a transfer of knowledge from a now-vanished culture that understood the principles of aerodynamics, a legacy passed down through generations until all that remained were these golden models. Their original meaning faded into myth. Alternatively, did they witness something extraordinary in their skies, an event or a technology so impactful that they felt compelled to immortalize it in their most precious metal? The Quimbaya airplanes do not offer easy answers, but they soar in the realm of the inexplicable, challenging us to reconsider the origins of human ingenuity and the silent, golden testimony of a civilization that may have looked to the heavens and seen something we would only invent 1,000 years later. The Lolladoff Plate presents a mystery wrapped in an artistic enigma. This circular stone disc, said to have been found in a remote part of Nepal, is etched with a swirling spiral pattern that emanates from its center. At the heart of this spiral sits a figure that has captivated the imagination of many, a humanoid form with a rounded, helmet-like head and a body that appears to be clad in a bulky, textured suit, strikingly reminiscent of a modern astronaut. Beside this central figure, another object is carved into the stone, a classic saucer shape that looks for all the world like a flying disc from a science fiction story. The entire scene seems to depict a being from the stars, a visitor from another world, immortalized in stone by an ancient hand. This powerful visual narrative has made the plate a cornerstone of the ancient astronaut theory, a symbol of the idea that extraterrestrials influenced human development in the deep past. Yet the foundation of this compelling story crumbles under scrutiny. The provenance of the Lolladoff Plate is virtually non-existent. There are no verified archaeological records of its excavation, no credible chain of custody tracing it from the Earth to its current owners. The entire history of the object is based on anecdotal accounts that cannot be substantiated. To mainstream archaeologists and historians, the plate is not an ancient artifact at all, but a modern creation, a clever piece of folk art, or an intentional hoax designed to appeal to our fascination with the unknown. Its artistic style does not align with any known period or culture in the region, and the carving techniques appear fresh, lacking the patina of centuries. So why does this object, almost certainly a fake, hold such power over us? The Lolladoff Plate taps into a deep and universal desire for connection, for a cosmos that is not empty but filled with travelers, teachers, and witnesses to our own story. It is a blank screen onto which we project our own questions about our origins and our place in the universe. Its enduring fame is a testament not to its authenticity, but to the strength of the narrative it represents. This makes it a crucial cautionary tale in the search for lost history. It reminds us that the allure of a perfect, paradigm-shattering discovery can sometimes blind us to the more mundane truth. The plate underscores the vital importance of provenance, of that documented, unbroken history of where an object was found, by whom, and in what context. Without that rigorous foundation, even the most visually stunning artifact remains just a story, a beautiful and seductive myth that tells us more about our own hopes than it does about the ancient past. High above a scene of earthly triumph, a silent witness floats in the medieval sky. The tapestry of the triumph of summer, woven in Bruges around 1538, depicts a victorious ruler surrounded by his court and soldiers. Yet the gaze of several figures is drawn not to the monarch, but to the top left corner of the fabric, where a distinct, dark, hat-shaped object hovers ominously. To a modern viewer, the shape is instantly recognizable, a classic flying saucer seemingly observing the historic event below. This interpretation has made the tapestry a favorite piece of evidence for those who believe unexplained aerial phenomena have been with us for centuries. They see a literal craft, a UFO documented in thread and dye by baffled artisans. But art historians urge a different perspective, one grounded in the symbolic language of the time. In the 16th century, the world was understood through a lens of faith and heraldry, not through the principles of aviation or physics. What we perceive as a spacecraft could very easily be the hat of God, a common artistic convention representing divine observation and approval over a worldly victory. Alternatively, it could be a heraldic badge or a military standard, a representation of a specific noble house whose identity is now lost to us. The tapestry masterfully demonstrates that an artifact's true meaning is often locked within its cultural context. We are separated from its creators by 5 centuries of radical technological and philosophical change. Our eyes, conditioned by a world of airplanes and satellites, immediately leap to a technological explanation. The eyes of a 16th century weaver, however, were conditioned by a world of religious iconography and feudal symbolism. To them, this black shape was not an anomaly. It was a normal, perhaps even cliched, way to communicate a specific idea to their audience. This creates a fascinating dilemma for the study of historical mysteries. How many other so-called anomalies are merely examples of our own ignorance, our failure to understand the visual vocabulary of the past? The tapestry does not necessarily disprove the idea of medieval UFOs, but it does present a far more plausible and historically consistent explanation. It serves as a crucial reminder that when we look into the past, we are not just seeing what is there, we are seeing it through the filter of our own time, our own knowledge, and our own desires. The real mystery may not be the object in the sky, but our relentless need to see our own world reflected in the art of another. Perched high above the ancient city of Cuzco, the stone walls of Sacsayhuamán rise from the earth with a silence that speaks volumes. This is not merely a fortress, but a colossal jigsaw puzzle carved from granite, each piece a block weighing up to 300 tons. The Inca built this cyclopean structure, fitting these behemoths together with a precision that defies logic. The seams between the stones are so tight, so perfectly interlocked, that not even the blade of a razor can slip between them. This dry stone construction, built without a single drop of mortar, has endured for centuries, surviving countless earthquakes that would have shattered lesser walls. Modern engineers stand in awe, for the irregular, multifaceted blocks fit together with a complexity that rivals the most advanced modern masonry. How did a culture without the wheel, without iron tools, and without a written system of mathematics achieve such perfection? The sheer logistics are staggering. How were these titanic stones quarried from distant sites, transported over miles of rugged terrain, and then lifted into place with such hair-raising accuracy? One persistent theory suggests the Inca possessed a lost botanical technology. They may have used a solvent derived from local plants, a juice that could temporarily soften the hard granite, allowing artisans to mold the stone like clay, pressing blocks together until they achieved that legendary, seamless fit. Once the chemical effect wore off, the rock would have hardened back to its original strength, locking the puzzle in place for eternity. Whether through this forgotten science or another method of inconceivable skill, Sacsayhuamán stands as an undeniable monument. It forces us to discard any lingering notion of pre-Columbian peoples as primitive. This was a society of master geologists, engineers, and logicians, whose understanding of their material world was so profound that they could make stone obey their will, creating structures that have outlasted empires. Our final artifact proves that the ancient urge to carve mysteries in stone never truly left us. The Georgia Guidestones rose from a rural field in 1980, a stark cluster of granite slabs that felt both modern and utterly timeless. Erected in Elbert County, Georgia, this structure was often called America's Stonehenge, a name that captured its imposing and enigmatic presence. 6 massive stones, 1 central pillar, 4 radiating arms, and a capstone were precisely arranged to track the sun and stars. They were engraved with a message in 8 of the world's most prominent languages, 10 guidelines for humanity titled The 10 Guides for an Age of Reason. The instructions were stark and ambitious, calling for maintaining the global population under 500 million, guiding reproduction wisely, unifying humanity with a new language, and ruling passion and faith with reason. It was a blueprint, but for what kind of future? The mystery was deepened by the man who commissioned it, a figure who gave only the pseudonym R.C. Christian, a name that paid cryptic homage to the legendary founder of the Rosicrucian order. He claimed to represent a small group of Americans who wanted to leave a message for future generations, paying for the monument in cash and vanishing back into obscurity as soon as the stones were set. For decades, the Guidestones stood as a Rorschach test for the modern world. Were they a benevolent plan for a sustainable society after some coming catastrophe, a sinister manifesto for global control, an elaborate piece of land art, or a philosophical statement from a new age religion? The anonymity of its creators meant the stones themselves had to bear the full weight of interpretation, just like the silent Moai or the unreadable glyphs of ancient times. This modern monument met a sudden and violent end. In 2022, a bomb partially destroyed the structure, and the remaining stones were later dismantled for safety reasons. Their physical existence was as fleeting as their meaning was opaque. The Georgia Guidestones, though recent, complete our journey through the artifacts of a deeper past. They demonstrate with chilling clarity that the human drive to build, to encode wisdom, and to speak to the future is a constant across all ages. From the first carved pillar at Göbekli Tepe to this final granite message in Georgia, we are a species compelled to leave our mark, to ask the big questions, and to cast our whispers into the vast well of time, hoping that someone, someday, will understand. These scattered whispers from the past begin to form a coherent voice when we listen to them together. Across continents and millennia, from the gears of the Antikythera Mechanism to the impossible map of Antarctica, a pattern of profound knowledge repeats itself. We find evidence of deep astronomical observation, of principles in physics and engineering that we thought were modern discoveries, and a drive to build on a scale that still leaves us breathless. This is not a collection of random oddities. It is the fragmented echo of a recurring theme in the human story. The conventional timeline of history paints a picture of steady, upward progress, a slow but constant climb from primitive beginnings to our current technological peak. But these artifacts suggest a different rhythm entirely, a pulse of rise and fall. They hint that complex societies, with their specialized knowledge and grand ambitions, have emerged not once but multiple times. Imagine a forest that burns to the ground in a great fire. The blaze is so intense that it consumes nearly everything, leaving only the most fire-resistant seeds and the deepest roots to survive. When the forest regrows, it has no memory of the towering trees that once stood there. Our historical record may be like that new growth, unaware of the ancient giants that preceded it. Each of these artifacts is one of those surviving seeds, a durable remnant of a world that was largely erased. This cyclical view of history carries a humbling and somewhat unsettling implication. Our own civilization, with all its digital networks and global infrastructure, may not be the pinnacle of human achievement, but merely the latest incarnation. We could be one chapter in a book with many missing pages, a cycle of brilliance and oblivion that has played out before. What cataclysms could wipe a civilization so completely from the Earth? Rising seas, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, or perhaps the slow unraveling of their own environment, just as we fear today. The evidence for these lost worlds would not be cities of skyscrapers, which would rust to dust in a few centuries, but the most enduring of their creations, objects of stone and precious metal, or knowledge encoded in myth and star charts. This perspective does not diminish our accomplishments, but it does reframe them. It asks us to look at the archaeological record not as a finished story, but as a puzzle with most of its pieces still missing. Every new discovery, every anomalous object pulled from the earth or the sea, is not an outlier to be dismissed. It is a potential key, waiting to unlock a door to a forgotten age, challenging us to rewrite a history that is far older, stranger, and more magnificent than we ever dreamed. Our journey through these 25 artifacts reveals a history far more mysterious and ancient than our textbooks ever allowed. From the delicate bronze gears of the Antikythera Mechanism to the staggering hunter-gatherer temple of Göbekli Tepe, each object is a solitary piece from a vast and incomplete jigsaw puzzle. These are not random anomalies, but scattered whispers from a forgotten conversation, a dialogue between humanity and knowledge that seems to have started much earlier than we thought. Together, they form a chorus of evidence challenging the clean, linear timeline we have constructed. They suggest a world where advanced civilizations may have risen, thrived, and then vanished into silence long before the accepted dawn of history in Mesopotamia. This is not about finding a single lost city or a lone genius, but about recognizing a recurring pattern of rise and fall, where great achievements are followed by profound forgetting. The ground beneath our feet may not be a pristine record of slow ascent, but a layered graveyard of past worlds. Skepticism is, of course, a vital tool, a necessary filter to separate signal from noise. But its counterpart, an open and daring curiosity, is just as essential. These enduring mysteries invite us to keep questioning, to keep exploring, and to keep digging, both literally in the earth and figuratively in the archives of our collective past. The story of humanity is not a finished book sitting on a shelf. It is a living document with new chapters being uncovered every year. As we conclude this exploration, remember that the next great discovery, the one that irrevocably changes everything we think we know, could be waiting just a shovel's depth away, ready to reveal another profound secret of our own.